Good evening. This is Maestro with the Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. Today, we have a 3v3 on Estia Province, because honestly, where else would it be? Maybe Catcher and Purification Plant? Anyway, our first player is going to be PieOfReckoning, playing as the Hive Tyrant. Tanky melee hero that walks through cover, cannot be suppressed, and can even become invulnerable with the right abilities. Next up, it's going to be Afan, playing as the Sindri, Trollface, Chaos Sorcerer. This is a spellcasting and battlefield manipulation hero starting out in melee, can also teleport around. And finally, for the blue team, it's going to be Gaius Baltar playing as the Chaos Lord, tanky melee hero that walks through cover and cannot be suppressed. Their opponents, we're going to start off with, I guess this name is Nachete, like a machete, but with an N, playing as the Brother Captain. Yet another tanky melee hero that walks through cover, cannot be suppressed, has We Are the Hammer to improve his defense and speed. Finale will be playing as a Lictor Alpha. This is an infiltrating melee assassin commander with powerful displacement. And finally, it'll be Lokyo playing as the teleporting Mekboy, ranged commander, harassment, repair, and mobility. That Mekboy going to be taking some shots at the Chaos Lord. Gaius Baltar might have to retreat this Chaos Lord pretty soon, as he's spending a lot of the Chaos Lord's health there just trying to work on that power node, but eventually he will have to abandon it. Has already lost much of his health. Honestly, at this point, Chaos Lord should probably just retreat. There's not a whole lot else he's going to achieve. Meanwhile, the Lictor Alpha actually achieving quite a bit here, making life really, really hard for these heretics, but eventually the Lictor Alpha realizes that he's going to need to go. Does come pretty close to going down in retreat, but I don't think it'll happen if the heretics can actually acquire the target. They get him down to 20, but it's not enough. If they had actually moved over more to the left and they were able to really be more in the Lictor Alpha's retreat path, it could have been a kill. But at the same time, it was also getting to the point where the Lictor Alpha was making it past the halfway point of the map, and it probably actually would not have been a particularly hard revive for his teammates. At any rate, we are going to see some heretics getting out of here, retreating, losing many of their models. Meanwhile, we have another heretic squad here. Triple heretics from Afan even. What is this heretic squad doing? It's literally just suiciding itself. I don't know if maybe that was the intention. Maybe he didn't actually want the triple heretics. But if he did, well, the heretic squad's gone now. Triple heretics, it's not non-existent, particularly with the Sorcerer, and one of the intentions there is definitely that the Sorcerer wants to be looking for some Doombolt heavy play, plenty of heretics for him to consume, to get the energy to shoot full-strength Doombolts. But, I don't know, maybe he didn't want it, because it's gone now. Anyway, Slugga's going to take far too much damage on approach, but the Chaos Space Marines, they spend so much time focusing on the Sluggas. They themselves are in quite a bit of trouble. They will go down, one model going down, kind of a crossfire set up with the Mekboy in the garrison as well as the Shootas on the other side. Mekboy, I don't know if the Mekboy is actually super worried about this. Is he? Okay, he will get out of here. He needs to teleport, otherwise he does actually risk going down. And then it is going to be a full retreat out of Lokyo now with the full health heretic squad approaching. Meanwhile, it does look like this is Finale getting a few things done here on the power farm. I believe he has already taken down one generator, and this should be a second. Meanwhile, heretics look to be moving into a path to try to get these Termagants on retreat, possibly. Now, Termagants, of course, have crippling poison. They're actually moving forward. I wonder if he sees this. Maybe these heretics not actually going to try to flank those Termagants on retreat, because if they did want to do that, it is now too late. Meanwhile, there is an opportunity for this Hormigaunt Brood squad. One squad does Doom Blast, and will that be the full squad? Yes, that is going to be the squad of Hormagaunts taken out. Finale losing his Hormagaunts. Double cap now for the blue team, 462 to 430. Finale going to be moving back around to the middle, possibly looking to engage on these heretics right here with the strength of superior numbers. Warriors will get the leap into combat, while Doombolts hit the Termagants on the other side. Finale does have some support here. He's got his Orc ally, but he's going to use the Flesh Hook on the Lictor Alpha to pull in the aspiring champion of the Heretic Squad. At this point on my channel, we have very much learned about just incredibly how powerful that is. Nearly getting the Heretics down to less than 20% of their hit points, despite not actually following up on that Flesh Hook anywhere near as well as they could have. However, Afan is going to be doing quite a lot of work here with these Doom Bolts. And yet he will be going for the Vestments of the Warp, which is rather curious. I mean, certainly there are strengths about doing this, but with the Heretic heavy play, it really seems like it does make more sense to focus more on Doom Bolt heavy play rather than aggressive teleport-oriented play. But at least if he does have the Vestments of the Warp, if the Sorcerer or really just anyone on the blue team has to deal with any setup teams, it does give him that option to make them easily tied up. Meanwhile, those Inquisitorial Stormtroopers really cannot take too many more shots from that Barb Strangler Warrior. Barb Strangler Warrior, however, actually doing okay here. I was going to say, I feel like the Strike Squad should be looking to get into melee here, but at the same time, they might have a tough time because there are double Termagants. Hormagaunts now coming into play as well. Purgation already at almost half of their health, while the Brother Captain having trouble getting things done as well. The Hormagaunts get into melee, but I think there's going to be far too much support for the Ordo Malleus here because the second Purgation Squad is out on the field. That being said, more support is coming in from the blue team. Sorcerer makes his presence known with that teleport. I believe this is a Hive Tyrant, yes, with the extended carapace to charge in. They make it in there first. Heretics kind of just filling out the ranks, but not actually contributing to that engagement, just because they didn't need to. So red team, though, putting pressure on the natural victory point of the blue team. This isn't the first time that I've seen them put some pressure on this victory point. While the Warriors, what are they looking for? This is not actually a great target for the Warriors. So I think they would probably just want to disengage from that Chaos Lord. All right, they'll go back into melee, but they'll get hit by the special attack. Yeah, this is not a place where the Warriors want to be. Even if Heal the Weak was on cooldown, the Warriors don't really have enough damage to really seriously threaten the Chaos Lord. The best they're doing right here is just tying up the Chaos Lord so that he's not putting any pressure on the Termagants. I guess that does buy enough time. Is there an opportunity here to take the Chaos Lord out? It doesn't actually look like they're even going to really attempt it that much. I was going to say, I think if they had really focus-fired him and the Lictor Alpha had followed up with a Flesh Hook, it might have been possible. But actually, it's a lot better to save that Flesh Hook for the Sorcerer, who is far more vulnerable to it than the Chaos Lord. It's going to be a pretty big chaotic engagement going on right now. We had Crippling Poison going out, Raptors jumping in. Heretics coming in here, losing at about, they're at about 60% of their health, 50, less than 50, just numbers smaller than 50. Do the Heretics even get out of there alive? Only the Aspiring Champion is left. Oh my god, it's so close, but the Sluggers eventually abandon their chase, and the Shooter Boys, so it's actually going to be Lokyo losing a squad, despite the fact that for a second it looked like Gaius Baltar was going to lose one of his Heretics. Meanwhile, Raptors jump into a fight that they absolutely 100% do not want. Losing 2 models in the process. Yeah, that was not the right jump. Just Sluggers, especially because, you know, Raptors, they don't have the Assault Marine knockback. Sluggers do far more damage. Actually, maybe not far more damage, but they definitely do more damage than Raptors. And especially when you consider the fact that the Pain Boy was there as well. I mean, he's got a power melee weapon, I'm pretty sure. Oh my god, I can't believe I don't know that. Instant retreat here, though, from Nachete, as I segue away from my potential lack of knowledge. And, man, Nachete with a really, really big Tier 1 build for an Ordo Malleus player. Going for the triple Purgation Squad. I mean, triple Purgation Squad. I guess I can... it's good against Termagants. It's good against Hormagaunts. Against the double Raveners, it's a little bit more questionable. Double Raveners, meanwhile, certainly putting on quite a show here, unloading huge amounts of damage and forcing retreat on the Warriors on the other side. Warriors will be upgrading 2 Adrenal Glands. And interestingly enough, we're going to see Gaius Baltar, one of the first to be in Tier 2, and he gets a Plague Marine squad right out of the gate. And it's something that, it's definitely come up a few times, but it's a choice that I personally do not disapprove of when you get Plague Marines as a blind purchase in Tier 2 as Chaos, because it's my personal opinion that if you don't have a vehicle to respond to, Plague Marines as a blind purchase are pretty low impact. Talking about impact, though, the Sluggers having the impact with the Raptors once again jumping into a fight that they absolutely should not be taking, even more so now that this Slugger squad has a knob leader on it. The Raptors 100% do not want that fight. unless maybe they have a squad leader of their own and they can disrupt some of those sluggers. Or at least just one of them. Anyway, does look like the Brother Captain, however, overstays his welcome. He'll be taken out. We might have some Harmagons. Will they get as lucky? They'll actually turn out to be luckier. And my Nachete going for the triple silencer build. Unfortunately for him, triple silencer build pretty easily countered by PieOfReckoning. Not necessarily because his composition strictly counters it, but I don't really like the positioning that Nachete had there, especially two of those purgation squads were actually just right next to each other, so they got disrupted at the same time by the same Ravener burrow. And this should be a full power farm going down. I am actually a little... It should be. It should be. The fact that it's not is honestly a mistake. Those Raveners and the Chaos Dreadnought could have moved up together and finished off that power generator really, really easily. It was just a little bit of drop micro from the players, might have just had their attention elsewhere, and eventually, once they were a little too late, they might have realized that it was better to be safe than sorry. Dreadnought, as it is, though, did still take out 60% of that generator. Of course, now it is finding itself under a bit of duress, being chased down by the armies of both Lokyo as well as Finale. Well, mostly Finale's army and Lokyo's Death Dread. Death Dread is now pretty far forward, but that is going to be a Venom Brood called down right down next to the Dreadnought. Dreadnought just has to force melee here. Now, that Venom Brood call-in is very, very powerful for the Lictor Alpha, but unfortunately definitely misused in that particular engagement. You don't want to be that close to a Dreadnought, because the Dreadnought can actually just answer that by forcing melee. Some squads getting pretty close to going down. Warriors getting out of there with 2 models and less than 10% of their hit points. The triple purgation opening fire. Triple purgation. If they targeted the Chaos Dreadnought, I feel like they had a decent chance of taking it out. But now they're all resetting up. I think Nachete probably is controlling them all at the same time. The Dreadnought looks like it was teleported away by the warp flow from the Sorcerer. So Nachete might just have all 3 of these purgation squads set up on the same control group, where he's just controlling them all at the same time. Although the fact that one of them is setting up differently indicates that maybe he is not. But these two, they very much look like they're on the same control group, and he's just controlling them that way. Which this is just never ideal to have 2 setup teams just right next to each other. So close to each other like that, where if one of them gets targeted by a jump squad, both of them will be tied up, basically. But, of course, I often like to talk about the game in, like, theoretical, ideal circumstances that assume that people have perfect micro. Of course, people don't, and sometimes it is just easier to, control two of the same unit at the same time with the same control group. That being said, it's going to be a major engagement loss for Nachete. Somewhere along the way, he lost a Stormtrooper squad. He will be getting a Grey Knight Dreadnought. And the Grey Knight Dreadnought is... I think the Grey Knight Dreadnought personally is a pretty good unit, particularly with that Plasma Cannon upgrade where you get not only a Plasma Cannon, but a Hurricane Bolter. And the... Yeah, I would like to see that. I personally do think it's pretty good against Tyranids in particular. I think it's probably good against most races, but I think it's pretty good against Tyranids in particular, where both weapons on a Plasma Cannon Dreadnought, the Hurricane Bolter and the Plasma Cannon, effective against most of the Tyranid squads. But we'll see if that's what it ends up being. I could be wrong. There are other options. It's going to be the Plasma Cannon. Yeah. I just think it's overall the strongest choice. Probably the most versatile. I guess maybe you go for a melee Dreadnought situationally if the situation really calls for it, if you specifically need it to counter large melee blobs, but otherwise I think that Plasma Cannon Dreadnought is the way to go. Alright then, anyway, does look like big engagement will be happening right here. Hive Tyrant is in the middle of things. Death Dread, why is the Death Dread running away from the Heretics? It's running away because it wants to actually engage the Raveners. Seeing the Raveners as a bigger threat there, but it also could have just absolutely obliterated the Heretics. Let the Galaxy Burn does go in from Afan's Chaos Lord. So we are seeing some upgrades from our heroes, and that will also be one of the Ravener Broods down for PieOfReckoning. Heretics actually in a lot of trouble right here. Honestly, they're probably dead if they're not retreated that early. And yeah, indeed, the Dreadnought, or rather the Death Dread, will finish them off. Some more Doom Bolts going in. Wow, Afan has actually lost a lot. He has lost all of his Heretics. We already saw one of them go down. He switched out the Vestments of the Warp for the Robes of Torment, so he's given up that mobility, wants the ability to counter melee units, which, you know, I'm trying to look at actually what's on the side of the red team. I guess it's mostly the Sluggas, which, truth be told, the Sluggas for Lokyo have gotten a lot of value. I mean, they're actually almost level 4. They had at least that one engagement where they took out 2 models on the Raptors, and then another engagement where they actually wiped the Raptors. Red team, though, going to be pushing the blue team back, particularly on the contested victory point. Here is that Plasma Cannon Dreadnought. Unfortunately, Plasma Cannon Dreadnought not getting the value that I had prophesied because it is shooting into a wall. Now it's in melee, and this, as much as... Wow, are we that far in the game already? We have an Abyss already? I feel like it still feels so early to me. Anyway, Abyss. Don't think the Abyss got a huge amount of value there. I'm excited to see this Dreadnought get some value, though. But, man, yeah, Predator's already out on the field as well. So, yeah, we are in Tier 3. There, I mean, the Grey Knight Dreadnought shooting the Plasma Cannon at the Hive Tyrant, that slows it from capturing. But since we're not too far along in the game, I think it's just so much more high value for the Plasma Cannon Dreadnought to be targeting squads. One of the things the Dreadnought needs to realize here is that I think it's worth its while to, yeah, just... If the Warriors want to engage the Dreadnought in melee, I think that's worth it. Like, just go ahead and engage them in melee, but he would rather focus on other targets. Eventually going to get some support out of here. What is it doing? All right, let's just look back over here where there's apparently a much bigger fight going on. I think that is some Chaos Space Marines in quite a bit of trouble. Yeah, Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines for Gaius Baltar getting out of there with only a single model. Ooh, okay, I think maybe what he's looking for, I don't know, is he... Ooh, Predator goes down. I was going to say Robes of Torment into Doom Bolts, but then the problem with that is that you're using energy for the Robes of Torment, so you don't have your maximum energy for the Doom Bolts to get that double volley. But let's just take a look at this Predator right here, trying to unload on the double Venom Brood, trying to chase after it. Predator is probably gone at this point, just not being microed away fast enough. I would be pretty surprised. Yeah, it is not going to make it out of there. I mean, that was a beamy Luda, or rather a beamy Mekboy, along with 2 Venom Broods from the Tyranids. Meanwhile, Dreadnought for Afan still out here. Warp Plummet coming out. Going to be a complete miss, though. This Mekboy with the beamy Luda is surprisingly allowed to be doing a lot, but he does also have the custom force field, making him immune to melee attacks. So this is also something that kind of protects him, prevents him from being tied up if he is targeting a crucial target with that beamy Luda. Or it's not a beamy Luda if he's not a Luda. It's with the beamy Def Gun. Mekboy nearly taken out by the Heretics, but will survive to fight another day. Heretics will catch the Sluggers on retreat. They should be able to get a model or 2. They get 2 models, basically everything except the Knob. There was no chance he was going to go down, but man, one shot from that Death Dread does rip apart 4 of those Heretic models. Meanwhile, what's going on this side? Is this Cult of Speed on the Dreadnought? That would actually be pretty funny. Dreadnought isn't even moving, though, so not even getting much value out of the Cult of Speed. The Purgation's once again going to find themselves being just taken apart, or rather burrowed upon by the Raveners. It's going to be yet another retreat for Nachete. And we also have the Neurothrope out on the field. I always want to call it the Doom of Malantine. That is the old name for the Neurothrope, and at some point it was changed. Doom of Malantine, I guess, making it sound a little bit more unique. But, you know, effectively, whether it's called the Doom of Malantine or the Neurothrope, functionally, I think it's pretty much the same between the 2 names. Anyway, it's going to be some more Tyranids called in right here. These Tyranids for Finale. Level 1 Termagants. Or are they for Finale? Yes, they are for Finale. It says so right here. Finale has a lot of units, I just realized. These aren't even in his unit tab. That means if we also include his commander, he has 9 units out on the field. Part of the reason that is so is that his Termagants, like his existing Termagant squads, are not even fully reinforced. I'm not even sure if he can reinforce everything. Actually, I think he can. Def Dread still actually alive. You know, we're in Tier 3. Def Dread is a vehicle that sometimes always doesn't last much into Tier 3, but for the moment, it's still alive. Chaos Lord going to be chasing after the Mekboy. We've seen some of the weapon upgrades for this commander. I saw it, but I didn't mention that the Chaos Sorcerer does have the Sigil of the Rift. I don't actually recall seeing a use of that just yet, but we'll see if it does come into play. While an Orbital comes into play, but the Orbital also a complete miss. That being said, Termagants, I believe these are Termagants inside the bunker, taking a lot of damage. Oh my god, the Neurothrope also just being left to die. Must have forgotten about him. A lot of losses, even if the Orbital hit nothing. PieOfReckoning suffering massive losses there. So blue team suffering all around. PieOfReckoning suffering losses. You know, power actually lost for the blue team. Sorcerer taking way too much damage. The Sorcerer just cannot really tank like that. I'm not entirely sure what was going on there. And that's going to be commanders down on both sides, actually, as the finale Lictor Alpha goes down as well. Khorne Predator now out for Gaius Baltar. Terminators will be called in. They'll find themselves in melee with the Hormagaunts. Now, at the very least, the Terminators will do very, very well against the Termagants. They just need to turn their guns on them, and they will start blasting the Termagants to pieces. Alright, now luckily for Afan, this is not a hard revive. That's a Tyrannoformation. I don't think this is really the time to use the Tyrannoformation. I think that's 5 red. That's not going to achieve a whole lot. Not 5 red, 500 red. I think that's 500 red, and I think it killed a single heretic. I think it literally killed a single heretic. At any rate, Cult of Speed put on the Def Dread. Cult of Speed at this point also, that's definitely, I was going to say another waste of red, but the Predator is backing up. I feel like the Predator had a chance there to take one final shot, then it only would have taken one more shot. Instead, the Def Dread's going to live to fight another day. Will the Pain Boy? Looks like he will. Weird Boy now in some trouble himself. Warp Vomit, highly effective against Terminators, but otherwise the Weird Boy definitely outnumbered there, and it was not going to be a winning engagement for him, even with Warp Throw, or rather Warp Vomit, not Warp Throw, Warp Vomit put on the Terminators. I wonder how many times they said Warp Throw instead of Warp Vomit. Heretics, meanwhile, not lasting long at all to the ranged firepower right here of Finale. Meanwhile, this is going to be a Khorne Dreadnought out of Afan. Of course, he is a Sorcerer player. Does he have enough red? Yeah, all right. He's got the red for Warp Global if he needs it. Yeah, he's already used it. Unfortunately for him, I don't feel that he achieved that much with that push with the Mark of Khorne Terminator. Rather, Mark of Khorne, oh my god, we're just going all over the place today. Mark of Khorne Chaos Dreadnought. Terminators themselves, I don't know. Could we see something like the autocannon as being like a Mark of Khorne thing? I feel like that's reasonable. Anyway, it does seem like there were a few losses on this side as well, at least in terms of model losses. Man, a Termagant Brood getting out of there with only 11 hit points. How has this Dreadnought been doing? It is level 2, so it's definitely been killing some things. I mean, just the combination of, you get a Plasma Cannon, and this might be the weakest Plasma Cannon in the game in terms of its raw damage output, but it's still a Plasma Cannon. Like, it's still, that means it's still going to do knockback. That means it's still going to do area of effect damage. And then you throw in the 51.94 Heavy Bolter, or Hurricane Bolter on top of it. That's a good number. That's a good number. That is on par with the Assault Cannon Dreadnought. I think it's actually slightly better. The Grey Knight Dreadnought probably doesn't have the extended range of the Assault Cannon Dreadnought, but still, just having that kind of damage output, that kind of consistent damage output on top of the burst from the Plasma Cannon, as well as the disruption that Plasma Cannon provides. I mean, I just can't stop talking enough about how good I think that Grey Knight Dreadnought is. I still think come Tier 3, it can probably still be overwhelmed by, you know, things like tanks, especially you get some las cannons on these Predators. But otherwise, I think it's overall pretty strong. Afan does have an unmarked Predator. Gaius Baltar will have a Mark of Khorne. And he's going for a second Mark of Khorne. Mark of Khorne increases the damage of both the bolters as well as the cannon. So it's kind of like the middle of the road upgrade for the Chaos Predator, where the Nurgle Predator is more focused on the anti-infantry side. It's worse against vehicles. The Mark of Tzeentch Predator is more focused on the anti-vehicle. Whereas the Mark of Khorne is giving you a little bit of both worlds. This one, though, going to be another Mark of Nurgle out of Afan. And we're going to see the Mark of Khorne just marks on everything. Mark of Khorne at Chaos Dreadnought charging forward. But the disengage, for the most part, from Finale is pretty good, except for the fact that we do have one squad of Hormagaunts going back in after being focused down so much. The Chaos Terminators putting in a lot of damage, but they will get knocked over by that Plasma Cannon Dreadnought. Terminators will teleport out. Luckily for them, they still have all of their models. Well, the Chaos Dreadnought is a little bit low on hit points. Chaos Dreadnought does now need to be careful, as we do see the approach here from the Venom Brood, as well as the rest, some other parts of Finale's army. The Warriors leading the charge here. It is a bunch of ranged heretics, so they don't have too much to fear. Meanwhile, it's going to be another squad of Venom Brood, or rather just a Venom Brood, not a squad of Venom Brood. A Venom Brood called in, trying to chase after the Chaos Dreadnought. You know, it looks like we're seeing some more disruption coming in from the Cataclysm of the Neurothrope. Oh my god, the Venom Brood going all in, and actually it pays off. However, some things are dying right here. Well, the Venom Brood, let's take a look at that Venom Brood. 6 hit points. Ooh, if the Terminators had focused on that Venom Brood, they could have finished it off. I'm pretty sure they weren't focusing on it, but for now, let's take a look at this Chaos Lord. Coming on out of here. He's going to switch to some Lightning Claws while we also see an Imperial Abyss. Imperial Abyss taking out one squad right there. I missed exactly which one it was, but one squad does go down to the Imperial Abyss. The one squad that was caught dead center. Lictor Alpha is caught, pulled out. Might actually survive because of the way he was pulled out with the second chain from the Abyss. I think if that second chain hadn't pulled him in, the Predator might have been able to finish him off. Meanwhile, our Hive Tyrant right here is going to get knocked over. I mean, just yet another great thing about that Grey Knight Dreadnought, actually providing some control on these otherwise unstoppable heroes, the ones who are immune to weapon knockback, but no hero in the game immune to ability knockback. Oh, there is something pulled out by the Sigil of the Rift. Unfortunately that does force the retreat on the Purgation, but we don't really see much in terms of a hard punish out of Afan. He doesn't have enough in terms of melee units. In fact, he doesn't have, his only melee unit pretty much, he's got the Sorcerer and he's got the Mark of Khorne Dreadnought. But to really, really punish someone when you have when you're using the Sigil of the Rift, if you really want to threaten to wipe their squads, you need like a melee heretic squad, and if you don't, aside from that, you can also basically any of the melee squads. So Raptors, Heretics, Khorne Chaos Space Marines, Bloodletters, ideally. Technically, though, I guess a Khorne Dreadnought does do. It still does less raw damage than even a tier 1 Raptor squad, I believe. And when I say a tier 1 Raptor squad, I mean a Raptor squad with no squad leader. Anyway, squad's gonna be taken down there, going for the victory point, but just the Chaos Predator just not having it. Unmarked Predator, so yet another new Predator out of Afan. And we're gonna see the tier 3 Lictor out of PieOfReckoning. Tier 3 Lictor is revealed, however, and has already taken damage. I don't feel that it really needed to retreat. I think it could have backed off, disengaged a little bit more, especially if it had Assault Fleet. If it had Assault Fleet, I think it could have just jumped out to safety. But you know who can't jump out to safety? A Sorcerer who does not have Vestments of the Warp. He's pulled in. He will use the Chains of Torment. But the Tyranids are able to actually just focus down
the center mass of that Chains of Torment so quickly. That being said, a Cataclysm comes in from PieOfReckoning, and that is going to be Finale's forces forced off, as we do see that Termagant Brood taken out right there. Paroxysm also coming out of the Neurothroat, but, you know, many of those units just walking out of the way. Here comes the Rocks out of... It can only be Lokyo. He's the only one. Rocks hitting in the middle. The Rocks certainly causing some disruption and panic, but I don't think it took anything out. All right, that's a Las Cannon Havoc targeting the Dreadnought, but it is at maximum range. Oh, I think this Dreadnought is done. So that is kind of a shame. Why is the Predator moving back? It's a Mark of Born Predator. Don't move back, but I think the Dreadnought is done anyway, and indeed it is. So I do think that Grey Knight Dreadnought is pretty good for what it does, but like many Dreadnoughts, it is a little bit harder to keep it relevant in Tier 3 once the tanks start coming out, and just put so much threat on Dreadnoughts. All right, meanwhile, the Mark of Nurgle Predator does actually not bother itself too much with the tank bust, is willing to tank some of that fire and just out-trade the tank busters. Meanwhile, Hormagaun's in a little bit of trouble. Looks like they'll be retreating out of there. Plague Marine's also in here pretty low. It's going to be another Let the Galaxy Burn coming in from the Chaos Lord. He's at less than half of his health, but he's going to look to get himself into melee with the Termagants, or perhaps the Venom Brood right here. Does use... Let's check. Does use the Destructive Strike ability. Demolishing Strike, Destructive Strike, Merciless Strike. Hard to keep track of all of them. Level 8 Chaos Lord, by the way. How are our levels on the rest of our commanders? Nachete about to make a push here. I don't know if this is the right time. Much of his team has been forced off. Much of the blue team is still here, but I guess he just feels that the clock is ticking. Only level 3 Brother Captain out of him. He does have the Holy Armor of Titan, granting invulnerability for a short period of time. And this is proving to probably be a lost fight for Nachete. He's probably going to lose one spot here. He's going to find himself having to deal with another Abyss. So this is another Abyss that... This Abyss killed almost nothing. I'm actually not sure if the Abyss killed anything, but it did panic Nachete into retreating. And of course, if he hadn't retreated, there was a chance that some of those models could have been pulled in by the chains, and any models that would have been pulled in probably would have been killed. But I don't think he was even in any danger of losing entire squads. And this late in the game, retreats are going to cost you. I mean, we already see they didn't get the victory points back. So we have the Terminators doing this, the Grey Knight Terminators. Luckily for them, they can certainly tank the damage from the Termagants. They'll do pretty well tanking the damage from the Terminators, especially if the autocannon model is not firing on them. I don't know if it's worth it for them to use up all their health and possibly even a model or two just trying to finish the cap. I think they die before they get a cap off. One model died. 2 models teleport out, and now they don't even have the opportunity to fight back over it. Some kind of flank here coming from the Tier 3 Lictor. He will be jumping in with the Assault Leap, and, I mean, right away, Assault Leap hits both Purgation squads. Or rather, 2 of them, since there are actually 3. Then he does only continue tying up 1, but also the Tier 3 Lictor is going to do so much damage. Heavy melee damage going right through the power armor of the Purgation squad. And another Cataclysm from the Neurothrope will be forcing Nachete off once again. So blue team a little bit slow to resume the capture right here. Certainly time is ticking for the red team, but blue team currently controls no victory points. Onus is still on the red team, though, to make something happen. I don't feel that they've really been working as a team with these last few pushes, and I think that's what they're going to need. And, you know, especially, they've got the bigger armies. I feel like if they actually work... No, sorry. It's the blue team that has the bigger army. It's the blue team that has the bigger army. So that means it's even more important that the red team actually works as a team instead of each player just trying to accomplish things solo. This is a good, actually, opportunity here. This should force off the Sorcerer, possibly even kill him. Okay, they forced him off. That's good. That means he won't be around to contribute to this engagement. There's a lot here. Does the red team have any nukes? You know, they've got so little time left now. There needs to be like a Brother Captain on this victory point and an orbital bombardment on all of this. Oh my god, he's not even... Okay, he is using... The orbital is there, but where is the cap? Without the cap, the orbital means nothing. The orbital is proven to be pretty good. It's getting the blue team off the field. But again, where is the cap? Okay, finally, the Hormigons out of everything pick it up. They don't have much health, but they're still actually on it. I think the Termagants are there to resume it immediately. So Finale doing the important things there. I think the... Oh my god. Nachete also going to lose the Vindicator Assassin. Oh my god, it's so close. He gets them out of there with just barely... Soon, like, he almost didn't even have double-digit hit points. Rockets and hammers soon going to be loaded into this Nurgle Predator. That will be a Nurgle Predator down as the Swarm Lord is being targeted by the Lascannon Havoc. As it's there, though, it's going to be taking on the Terminators as well as the Dreadnought. What's happening? There is still no cap on this victory point as the Termagants lay into the Strike Squad. The Strike Squad going to go down here for Nachete. Nachete needs to put something on this point. The Terminators are there. It's really up to them. They've got to do it, or they're not going to bring this game out, I don't think. Well, it of course depends on how the engagements go. Knobs chasing, trying to finish off the Predator. The Predator is willing to go back there. Instead, the Knobs decide to turn their attention on the Havoc. That will clear the way for any vehicles, particularly this low-health Swarm Lord. The Swarm Lord trying to restore some of its hit points. Oh my god, this is a Mega Rumbler from the Mekboy. Mega Rumbler for the Mekboy. What is the Predator doing? Predator not even targeting the Swarm Lord. I feel like that Predator had an opportunity to finish off the Swarm Lord. Predator is itself finished, but so is this Swarm Lord's going to go down as well. It goes down to the opposing Swarm Lord. Blue team looks like they ultimately come out on top of that engagement. There's only a Mekboy right here, and he can't stand up to the Swarm Lord. So after everything is said and done, I think the blue team will be taking... They definitely take that engagement, which I'm pretty sure it means they take the victory points. They need to force the Plague Marines off of it, and they can't get it in time. I believe that's it, especially with the Brother Captain not starting this capture. Instead, it's the Terminators who barely have any health left. I don't think they get it in time. It's 3, it's 2, it's 1, and... Oh my god, it actually is just in time, but the Terminators pay for it with their lives. Does look like the Brother Captain is actually working on the capture, but how long can he last here against the Swarm Lord? All 3 Purgation are knocked over by the Cataclysm from the Neurothrope. And the Neurothrope can actually capture this. But the Neurothrope will certainly be put under some pressure. We're going to have more call-ins, and we've got 1 victory point left. Paladins will be called in for Nachete as the Swarm Lord goes down, I believe. But that is an Imperial Abyss. That Imperial Abyss, oh no, it's not placed correctly. It's not right on top of the Paladins. It actually ends up not doing that much damage to the Paladins. Fairly minimal, and more importantly, it doesn't pull it. Well, realistically, it probably wasn't going to pull the Paladins off the point. It could have. If there was one lucky chain that had pulled the lead Paladin model off of the victory point, that could have worked. But that wouldn't have been reliable. What would have been more reliable is the Imperial Abyss being placed directly on the Paladins so that they either need to get off the victory point or they just die. That is Rocks. The Rocks should be taking out the Havoc. If the Havoc makes it out of here, it's very, very lucky, but the Rocks just not quite falling in favor of Lokyo there, and the Havoc actually makes it out of there, but we are still fighting over this victory point. It's getting really, really close, though. I think that is... Who is actually getting this capture? It's the Hive Tyrant. The Hive Tyrant is invulnerable, and that will finally be it. That will be game in favor of the blue team. Hope you enjoyed it, and have a good night.